I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to step into this office together with my loyal, dependable deputy, Her Excellency God Josephine Pio. Over the past 3 years, we have remained steadfast in our commitment to building a government anchored on transparency, accountability, compassion, integrity, responsible leadership. Through prudent management of resources and purposeful governance, we have worked diligently to restore confidence in public institutions and lay a solid foundation for sustainable development. When we assumed office in May 2023, the state faced significant economic and developmental challenges. Through deliberate policies and strategic interventions, we have revitalized critical sectors of the economy and prevented the decline that threatened our stability and growth as a state. The first matter we confronted upon assumption of office was the matter of security and peace building. You would recall that before our swearing in, the state was bedeviled by many severe security challenges, which resulted in significant loss of lives and property in Mangu, Bokos, Riom, Barkinladi, and Bassa local government areas, apart from other attacks in the southern part of the state, particularly Wase at then. What did we do? 2 days thereafter, we convened a State Security Council meeting, and we followed this with personal visits to some of the IDP locations across the affected local government areas to assess their needs and to provide support. We immediately began conversations with the security agencies on ground to strengthen collaboration, build strategic relationships, and even went to Abuja to visit the security chiefs in order to give them a first-hand account of the issues. One of the things we realized was that the security situation on the plateau was not fully appreciated in Abuja, and therefore it was mischaracterized, and the needed response was not forthcoming. These visits proved very useful, and we were able to bring some calm in the immediate. We also looked again at the Operation Rainbow, the state security outfit, and over the course of time, we have trained over 2,000 youths and added those boots to the ground to support intelligence gathering and security surveillance in many communities, given the constraints of our resources. We want to thank God that Mr. President also graciously approved the recruitment of guards for addition into our security architecture. We try to provide an atmosphere of citizen engagement, particularly for communication in terms of distress. So we established toll-free lines and for people to report suspicious activities. I'm glad that a number of kidnap incidents, particularly within the city and its surrounding environments, environs have proved, these free toll lines have proved very useful, and on many occasions, those kidnap attempts have been thwarted. In addition to this, we have also engaged particularly the police apparatus, the leadership of the Nigerian police force, and they have added more presence for us here on the plateau. Apart from the 2 Mopol squadrons we had earlier, we've been able to attract 2 additional squadrons, one in Bassa, one in Barkiladi. These have proved very useful. The one in Barkiladi is in Gashish. Now, we keep improving. And just about a month ago, we also got approval and deployment of personnel to the forward operating base in Kadarko Wase. And as I'm talking to you, those Mopol personnel have been deployed in Wase at the moment. The security challenge is particularly troublesome because people only know what we fail to prevent. People hardly know what we prevented. But I like to salute the security agencies, most of them. We have reports, certainly, of bad eggs amongst them, but we cannot throw the baby and the bathwater. By and large, the security agencies, the security forces are doing a tremendous job. It is only when they are absent that we know their value. It is also when they fail to do their job, that's when we know their value. But those of us that supervise them, we know what they are doing, and I want to thank them for their sense of duty that has kept the state where it is today. Now, let me quickly also say this. At the root of the security challenges is what I call a deliberate, orchestrated plan to make sure that the people of Plateau State are kept in perpetual poverty. And as the chief marketer of the state, it has behoved on me over these last 3 years to find a good balance while not denying the challenges that our people face, some of whom have been killed, many of whom have been displaced. I know that if we do not grow a plateau economy, we will remain perpetual slaves forever. While economies are built through the sense of industry of the people, you must also attract outsiders and foreigners to come into your state. Last week, I was in Lagos to market Plateau State at an investment forum, and I found that a lot of the information that people have about Plateau, thinking it is insecure, is about the scaremongering that we ourselves promote. And when I had the conversation with many of those businessmen, I can tell you many good things are on the way. As I'm talking to you, there is a multi-billionaire who wants to set up a tin refinery on the plateau. Monday this week, by the grace of God, we are laying the foundation for the new modern abattoir. And that is not just the good news. A foreign national, after my presentation in Lagos, said to me, "Governor, I want to buy all your meat." This is exciting, isn't it? When we assumed office in May 2023, one of the institutions that was lying on its knees or on its back was the civil service. When I took over, I remember that part of February salary had been paid. March, April, and May were outstanding, totaling over 11 billion. And when I checked all the accounts of the state, the only money we could access was 1.1 billion. And to make it worse, we had actually exhausted our borrowing threshold as far as the debt management office was concerned. But because you trusted me and invested me with confidence and trust, I approached one of the bankers and he said to me, because of you, we will bend the rules. And they gave us a facility of 15 billion naira without hesitation. This was what we used to clear the backlog of salaries. And ever since, we have never failed to pay salaries on the plateau. By the grace of God, let me assure our workers that even if Abuja does not send us money, we have one man in reserve that you don't need to worry. So we've cleared the backlog of salaries. It is gratifying to note that we have also made giant strides in clearing the backlog of gratuities and pensions and making sure that our pension payments are up to date. In one other forum, I had said we had paid over 16 billion in pensions and gratuities. But the latest report I'm having from the Accountant General shows that we have far exceeded that amount at the moment. We have done well over 20 billion in trying to clear those pensions and gratuities. And by the grace of God, we'll continue to do so. The interesting thing about the payment of gratuities was that when we took over, it was being done haphazardly. And a lot of corruption was introduced into the system. But we stopped that practice. And we made sure that we developed a timetable for payment. And whenever it was your turn, you can be sure that you will get your money intact without paying any bribe. And I'm glad that we have received many, many commendations from the beneficiaries because everything in that space is being automated at the moment. We have gone ahead to do a lot of reforms within the civil service. We have also, to some extent, made sure that appointment of permanent secretaries, for example, is done on merit and not who you know. And I'm glad that many of the permanent secretaries that have come into that space, that they came in without knowing me, in fact, is a deficit if you lobby me for appointment as permanent secretary. It may count against you, but make sure you are qualified. We have gone on to organize trainings and workshops, and I'm glad that many of our civil servants today have attended both local and international workshops and seminars. And one thing I discovered is that among our civil servants are very intelligent, diligent, hardworking civil servants. But they were never given the opportunity. And I want to assure you that by God's grace, we'll continue to give you the enabling environment to flourish in the career you have chosen. In the area of economic development, we have trusted God to be able to transform the plateau economy. One of the areas we found wanting when we took over was in the area of internally generated revenue. When I took over, the IGR that I got for the month of April and May of 2023 were all below 1 billion. We tried to stop the leakages. We tried to reorganize the Internal Revenue Service. And I want to say that in the last 6 months, we have hovered between 3.5 to 4 billion naira. We are not there yet. My target is that before we vacate office, we would have built an IGR cap inflow of about 10 billion naira monthly. We identified 3 main economic drivers to rebuild the economy. We have tried to bring some order and sanity into the mining sector. Even though it is a federal government, it's on the exclusive legislative list. We've tried to make sure that we bring some sanity and order so that Plateau State and the people of Plateau can benefit from that industry. We are not there yet, but I can tell you that our derivation from mining has grown, I think, from about 500 million that we bet on ground to about 1.5 billion. And so we will continue to monitor that sector. But more importantly, we are having conversations to ensure that our people are not shortchanged. We are monitoring the community host agreements to make sure that the corporate social responsibility of these miners is articulated for the benefit of the communities where these activities are taking place. But very importantly, we have also revived the Plateau Mineral Development Company, incorporated in 1994, but was still depending on government without any much activity. As I'm talking to you, we have signed many MOUs and joint venture agreements, and I am believing that in the next 1 year, that company should be self-sustaining. The other key economic driver we identified is tourism. Just like we are called the home of peace and tourism, you will agree with me that not much has taken place within that space. The Solomon Lar Amusement Park was an eyesore. The wildlife park actually had more wardens than animals, and it had become a haven for kidnappers. I'm glad that today we have been able to fence off the wildlife park. Just 2 weeks ago, the High Commissioner of Namibia, which is one of the leading countries in Africa in wildlife conservation, spent the whole 4 days here on the plateau. And by God's grace, we have entered into an MOU. They are not only going to give us more animals, there are animals we don't have here. We need to get them back. I'm glad we have started with the Solomon Lar Amusement Park, that already there is visible improvement within the amusement park. But the good news is that we have foreign business interests that have come in. We've signed an MOU. The main economic driver, which excites me, is agriculture. Most of us on the plateau are farmers, but farming almost became the source of our poverty, because as it was in the beginning, so it has been. And it looked like we were saying, so shall it be. But we are determined by the grace of God to rewrite the story of agriculture on the plateau. There are no two ways about it. We have to go mechanized. We have to go mechanized. And that process is on. A key component in agriculture is that you have to identify your competitive advantage. And that is why in Lagos on Monday, I was able to talk about the plateau advantage. And what is one of the main things that gives plateau an advantage is what we have called Irish potatoes for the last 60 years. We have fed Nigeria, we have fed West Africa, we have fed Chad, Niger, and those northern borders, neighbors with potatoes. But the story is about to change. That is why we have decided, and none of us here has met an Irishman, so we don't know why we should continue to call it Irish potato. So we have agreed, and I hope you agree with me, that henceforth we call it what? It's our own. And to put word to action, we have imported about 10 containers of F1 seed. Those of you that know seeds, the secret of a good crop is seed. And if you get the right seed and you are able to also manage the farm well, then you're going to get a better yield. One area we particularly gave attention to is the improvement of road infrastructure across the state. And I can tell you with every air of confidence that there is an ongoing road construction in every local government of Plateau State. Of the inflows that we have had, road construction alone has taken well in excess of 140 billion of our inflows. We have nothing to hide. We keep publishing our accounts at the end of every year. I'm sure the accounts for 2025 have already been uploaded. You are entitled to ask questions. But let me just give you an idea. I think last month we got an inflow about 12 billion. Out of the 12 billion, 6.6 billion went into the payment of salaries and gratuities alone. And we operate what we call autonomy between the tiers of government, arms of government. So we have to give a portion of it to the House of Assembly. We have to give a portion of it to the judiciary. By the time you compute all those figures, already another 2 or more billion is gone. In the health sector, we have been able to improve significantly the status of Plateau State Specialist Hospital. And very soon, we are building capacity. We will soon declare it as a Plateau State Teaching Hospital. We're in that process. We have invested over 2 billion in setting up the lab there. We have also invested quite some substantial amounts of money in improving the general hospitals. We have also gone ahead with a lot of diplomacy. That is why today, the National Orthopedic Hospital for North Central Zone has been located in Jos, and we were able to facilitate its takeoff. Even though it was masterminded by one of our responsible Plateau leaders in the National Assembly, the bill was sponsored by Honorable Idris Maje. It could not see the light of day until we came into office. I'm just being informed that on health infrastructure alone, we have spent almost 5 billion. We have set up the Drug Supply Agency, which is one of the most efficient in the country. Is highly commended. As a matter of fact, the lab in Plateau Hospital is being identified by the World Health Organization as a training center for medical lab scientists. If you check our investments in education, in healthcare, we have spent well over 15 billion in that sector. We have brought in, we have upgraded the profile of Plateau State University. We've upgraded the profile of Plateau State Polytechnic. We've upgraded the profile of College of Education, Gindri, that our investments in transportation, I'm sure that both the blind and the deaf have patronized it. It's something you cannot deny, no matter how you love to criticize us. The exciting thing for me about the metro buses is that they deliver a monthly savings for those who patronize them of something in the region of 39,000 to 50,000. Yes, the trains have not always functioned, but at all the times they have functioned, they have been able to bring succor to the lives of our people. Presently, we are making strategic investments in youth development, and one of the areas of youth development is sports. I'm glad that virtually all the sports organs of the state, since we came on board, they are being funded. We are making strenuous efforts to ensure that the Rwangpam Stadium is completed before the next football season, and by the time it is completed, it's going to be CAF standard that will be able to attract national competitions back to Jos. And as usual, our strategy is to do a public-private partnership, which today is yielding us dividend in Plateau Hotel and Hill Station Hotel. I'm glad that several people who have gone around those hotels have come back to say, wow, something is happening. Agriculture, we have also done a lot in terms of not only providing inputs of fertilizer and seeds, we have also tried to assist farmers with chemicals. And this year, I think by next week, God willing, the distribution of fertilizers for this year will begin in earnest.